Mm,
Damn, what an introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well, doing well. Weissenberg, I think that the mic is muted, so just take a look at that. People are saying that it is.
Chat is saying that?
Yeah.
Don't believe chat.
Don't believe chat.
What an
Oh, it'll be
introduction.
back
And
shortly.
now
Welcome
it's
back.
muted because it was showing perfectly fine on in OBS.
Well, it happens.
Yeah.
Now it's
Well,
fine. All right.
We always
Technical
have tech issues.
difficulties.
We always have tech issues. No worry, guys. So I'm not gonna repeat myself, I think. But yeah, once
come
again,
on,
everyone,
why
welcome
not?
to episode 21 of Mergers of Novigrad. Before we get into it, a couple of words to our viewers. Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask them in chat. As always, Hesser has been charged with the task of collecting the more interesting ones. Also, if you want to stay in touch off stream, you can follow us on Twitter. And speaking of Twitter, to celebrate our first anniversary as a podcast, we are giving away 3 copies of the
Freebie.
Paddle on the Yoruga bundle. So if you don't have it yet, and if you'd like to have a chance at winning it, just type !giveaway and learn about how to participate. And obviously, if YouTube or Spotify are the places where you would rather watch or listen to this episode, it's going to be uploaded onto these and a couple more platforms either tonight or tomorrow. With that being said, I think we can advance to the first segment, which, as always, is What Have You Been Up To? Paweł, congratulations on your 5-year anniversary at CDPR.
Well, thank you. It's when you say 5 years, it feels like it's been forever since I've been with the company. But also at the same time, it kind of feels like it was just yesterday that I joined, and I joined as an assistant in the community team, and now I'm fortunate enough to be running my own team that fully focuses on communication for and marketing for Gwent, which is crazy and amazing at the same time. So yeah, I didn't think that I'll make it this long, but it looks like I'll be staying for longer, which is awesome.
And have you actually imagined you would stay there for this long? Because, 5 years when you start a new job, it's always a little bit of a stretch. Like mostly people are gonna say, well, I'm gonna be here for a couple of months and then we're gonna see.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was thinking like 3 years max, maybe, because I don't think I've held down a job for longer than 3 years, because I always like the change, and I always like change of scenery, change of people, maybe a different industry, something, more exciting, let's say. But here, like, every day is different, every week is different. So, and also I was fortunate enough to join at a time where we were promoting everything for The Witcher, so expansions for The Witcher at the time, Hearts of Stone and Blood and Wine, and after that Gwent came along, so I was like fully invested into Gwent itself, and that from that point on it was just Gwent. And recently, beginning of this year, I was given the opportunity to finally like form my own team. And we have a team that is kind of mixed, because we have community people in my team, and we also have 2 motion designers and 1 video editor. So we also work on the trailers that go out to everyone watching our stuff. So it's been an interesting one. I also am learning a lot on that front. We're taking more of esports also in our corner. Like, we're producing opens. The last open was produced in-house fully. We'll probably talk about that later. But yeah, I mean, it's always something different, and that's what I really appreciate about the job.
So now that you have your own team and the competitive season number 2 is going on, I think we can safely say that another 5 years is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, I see it. I don't see. I like, if I'm thinking about it right now, I don't see like jumping ship anywhere else. So if they'll have me, I'll stay for sure. yeah, and I want to keep going. And looking at how Gwen has been doing for the last 2 years, for sure, I really want to stay in this team and kind of keep going, keep pushing, because it's been rough, especially after homecoming. But I feel now with Jason at the head of the table, let's say, and a super well oiled formed team right now, we're doing quite well. Of course, there are hiccups, but I think we have a solid team moving forward.
Oh, you definitely do. We briefly mentioned the topic of Gwent Masters Season 2. Ville, because our viewers haven't seen you in at least a couple of episodes. How is the grind going?
I mean, yeah, it's it's come to an end. Last qualifiers next weekend, so yeah, excited, but let's see how it goes. It's been
Are these qualifiers the lucky ones?
I don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah, I would
Let's
love to
see.
see you at the Open.
Yeah,
You know, the
it would be
crowning
great.
achievement.
That'd be really
Yeah.
cool.
It would be nice for sure, but yeah, I'm a very modest guy, so I'm just gonna keep my thumbs up and hope everything works out.
Well, when
We'll
it comes,
totally have you.
yeah, definitely. When it comes to hoping everything is gonna be all right, Hesser, how are you feeling, man? Because there have been some reports that you are a little bit under the weather, and obviously a lot of people were like, Corona is.
Yeah, I was out of the game for 2 weeks, I think. But I was thinking that it might be a corona because you're getting paranoid a bit with the situation going on right now in the world. But I think that was only just a common cold or maybe just a common flu, right? But yeah, I'm feeling way better right now. Should be back to streaming as well next week.
Oh, that's some great news, man. And speaking of which, speaking of the paranoia and the lockdown and whatnot, Pawel, how has the pandemic affected your workout routine? Because you love cycling, you love running, and one day you are being told you have to stay inside. So how did you get around that?
It was difficult in the beginning. We were fortunate enough to have our studio here in Warsaw. Pretty much, the let's say the board members told us that we can move to home office, and they made the transition very easy for us. Like they moved our all stuff. For me, it's easy because mainly I do all my work on a laptop, so it's easy just to take it home, right? But for developers, it's like they were moving everything because they were moving like chairs, desks, whole PCs, like workstations, couple monitors. So that process itself, but it for me, I think it lasted like a weekend, and everybody had all their stuff, which is huge. Um, and we went into home office mode in the beginning when the pandemic pretty much hit. We couldn't really we were advised not to really go outside. But I still had this morning routine that I had in the morning that I had in the winter time. Morning routine that I had in the morning. Morning routine that I had in the winter time when I would wake up 5, 6, go for a run, and I would still keep on doing that, although it was not fully legal. But then they allowed us to go outside, so then I started going on bike rides, and also in between that, I also bought rollers just to ride on Zwift. Zwift is this thing that lets you compete with other players online. So you pedal, you have your speedometer and your heart rate monitor and stuff connected to your computer, and you pretty much it's like an online game, except you're sweating and actually doing all the work instead of pushing buttons. So I was really into that for like 2 months, and then yeah, we were allowed to go outside and do sports outside. So I just jumped outside as soon as possible. But also looking at this year, yeah, I think we were afraid that communication might be difficult in between teams, that it'll be difficult to work on patches projects, and actually came out that everybody working at home is communication is super good. Like we have more meetings, of course, more syncs in between teams, but yeah, it's working. It's working better than we thought. So we're happy, and we know we're not going back to the studio till the end of the year for sure. And then we'll see what next year brings, right? because we don't know how long this Corona stuff will be.
Oh yeah, these
happening.
are certainly some uncertain times. Certainly uncertain.
True that.
You were speaking about communication, and with that being said, I would like to move to the next segment, which is what's happening or what's been happening in Gwent. And the opening question will be about the expansions, because we've had 3 major expansions since 3 or 4. I think 3 since our last meeting, right? We had the Iron Judgment, we had Merchants of Fear, and Master Mirror, and each of these expansions was handled differently when it comes to communication and the review campaign. Because Iron Judgment, mostly handled by the community, then Merchants of Fear dropped absolutely out of nowhere, caught everyone by surprise, and then the last time around, you actually started to deploy other social media, Facebook, YouTube especially. So how do you feel about it now? And do you guys have a preference when it comes to handling the marketing side of an expansion?
For sure, we like the part with community reveals. We wanted to try a model in which we actually just drop it out of the blue and see kind of how players react to it. We're also testing options of having multiple like pre-order packs, and also from that angle, like what would work best. What we already know is that we for the next expansion we'll be doing something a little bit different, not when it comes to the marketing model, because I think we'll be sticking to the same thing, like having pre-orders earlier and having, of course, a fully fledged reveal campaign. But the pre-orders might just look a little bit different than what you're used to. And we're actually having a meeting within the marketing people yesterday, and I was saying that what I like about our pre-order campaign and everything that we're always doing before expansion is that it's ever evolving, that it's always different, and I think we want to keep that going. For sure, like having it out of the blue is okay, but it's not, you get this like, you just drop it, you see the spike, and you see people very interested and everything's happening, and then it just like drops. And when you have a reveal campaign and you have everything kind of like a slow promotion and beat by beat, and talking about keywords separately and doing teases for it, that you see it gradually go up. And it's really, really cool, because if you have more like beats which are causing people to be more interested in the game and your content and whatever you're producing, it's more fun than just doing, woohoo, we're up here, and then boom, we go down and everything goes down. It's like,
Yeah, especially when the campaign is organized in a certain way, because Iron Judgment, people were just revealing cards left and right without any regards to faction and keywords. There was always a lot of confusion about how this card is going to interact with the other new cards within the faction. Whereas the last time around, everything was neatly organized. First, you reveal the keywords, then the neutrals, then faction by faction. So I think this creates even more of a momentum for the campaign.
Yeah, we like that approach, and I want to keep it going. Although I saw that there were some players which had mixed feelings about it, because I know there's still room for improvement there, because we had some cards come out, like we kept them all the way till the end because they were, like, in our opinion, super, super cool, and we wanted to have at least, the last reveals, this should be something, the first ones and the last ones, this should be something meaningful. But some players were like, oh, we're missing a couple of cards from Syndicate and Nilfgaard, and they kind of wanted a closed pool already of cards so they can already think about synergies and things like that. So maybe we can make it even better for the next one. But the idea is also, I think, to stick to faction by faction, because if you have like a keyword which you focus on, and then you have a whole faction which kind of ties into that keyword, then you have this, it all makes sense. Of course, this is only for the players who really follow what we're doing, and the ones that I call hardcore community. So those people who have been with us since the early, closed beta, and they pick up everything. So it's mainly a nod towards them. And I like it. Instead of just dropping cards however we want, we're having it in a structured way. And I think also moving forward, we want to keep this thing that community reveals the cards, because the expansions, they aren't that huge. They're always around 70 something cards. And we want to give as many, content creators and streamers the possibility to reveal their own cards. So we want to keep that going and kind of giving a little bit back to the community. Yeah.
And do you still plan on changing the cards during the campaign based on the community feedback? Because we've seen that a couple of times. You reveal the card and some people reacted in a very specific way, saying, "Oh, this is too OP," or "This is too oppressive," or "This is too weak," and then you guys would change the numbers accordingly. Is that something you still plan on doing in the future?
I mean, ideally, it would be to have cards come out like whenever we're doing a campaign in a way that we don't have to do many changes. But I know that's pretty much almost impossible. Like there will always be some things that we might miss, or we might start the campaign early, which we always do, and then while we get closer to release, after doing more and more testing by the team, and also we consult a couple players that are part of like the community, and are also pro players and stuff like that, and we talk to them, and they sometimes give us some feedback that we're like, okay, maybe we should tweak these cards a little bit more, and that's when the changes happen. But yeah, also thing that we've been struggling a little bit in the reveal campaign is sometimes there are just errors in cards. Like we pretty much post something on social, or so it's posted by someone, and then it turns out that the values are different. So it's a matter of us talking a little bit more with the designers and kind of keeping one holy document in which we have the proper power provision and stuff like that, because a number here or there, +1 -1, can change everything.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of the expansions actually as well, we've also moved from 4 expansions annually to 2 expansions and 2 notable patches. And what's your take on this approach, and how do you see Gwent content being developed in the future?
We moved to this model because we wanted, first of all, to do a lot of quality of life stuff in the game. We also wanted to pick up on things and introduce a battle pass, which for us is Journey. And Journey itself was a big project. Like we did the first Journey with Geralt, the second one with Ciri, and we're working on the third one right now. And with this, we wanted to drop a lot of content there, make the progression a little bit fun, more fun for players. And our sites are revamping Arena, which we talked about yesterday, and I think we'll talk about more today. And it's focusing on these things. It's kind of focusing also on the polish, working on the animations, working on providing players with more vanities, making the leader models look a lot better, working on all the arts, and kind of focusing on the UI. Kind of, I feel, and what I've been kind of saying for a long time is that when we started, and after Homecoming, we pretty much started with a game that for me was kind of bare bones in some way. Like we had something, but it still was lacking that polish, and I think that polish is something that we're introducing right now. And if we keep the cadence of 4 expansions, it's just on the production level, it's crazy. And if we add Journey to that, there's just too much things. And I feel like we want to first do all the most important things to kind of have the game in a nice stable way, looking perfect. And like when we're finally happy with it, I think we can then maybe think about changing the cadence. But I feel like 2 expansions is enough, having also Journey in between and also working on other things, because we have a couple different ideas.
Yeah, well, definitely. Like dropping some more content rather than just adding the new cards all the time is definitely makes more sense for now, and polishing the game. But yeah, so there is still a hope, right? For example, for those people like lusting for more cards, there is still hope that we might get like the 3rd expansion maybe in the future, right?
We'll see. I also kind of feel like that the more content you drop, the more you're kind of causing this imbalance in the game in some way. And we also are kind of known for doing like big overhauls for expansions or for cards or reworks. And if you have, reworks for cards and you're having new cards come in, I think as a player, if you're not super crazy hardcore into the game, you might pretty much, be like, what the hell? This is too much stuff dropping.
Yeah.
I've been playing this, and this is, one day this gets changed, and then they add new stuff, and it's like, what the hell's going on? There's too much, chaos here. But like I said, we kind of like the approach that we always had with Gwent, is kind of like, we're seeing kind of what the reaction is, and based on that, we're kind of changing things as we go. And I like that approach. Instead of just sticking to one way how we do things, we're trying to be more adaptive and more agile.
You said that dropping more content and doing these massive overhauls always creates some sort of imbalance, and that's another thing I would like to talk about, because we've seen that each content release has also gradually introduced many new cards whose power output clearly exceeds the established power curve. Like, and I would like to ask, what's your opinion on the points to provision rate in the last 12 months? Is that the power creep Reddit is often talking about, or are we just trying to reshape the curve to change these values for all cards in the future?
Balance, like, for me, it's a hit or miss. Like, we're trying to do things where we have cards come out, and they, like, I mean, whenever you drop an expansion, you have to have some cards be a little bit powerful, but then you get to a point where you have to kind of bring them down. The question is where you find that that fine in between moment where a card is not too crazy, but not underpowered, where it's kind of just because we get things from players like, okay, we introduce a card, then we change a little bit, and they're like, oh, nerf to the ground, literally unplayable, but yeah, you kind of get that, and I think it's a difficult question. Like, for me, since I'm not a game designer, for me the most I like when I'm previewing cards and I'm like, well, this is gonna be OP, and they're like, well, maybe. I'm like, no, it's actually gonna be OP, and I kind of like that. That whenever you're having new stuff come out, you want it to be kind of cool. Like, people have been working on the card, the art itself, the animation, the everything, and you want it to be kind of cool. So yeah, but then you have to kind of level it a little bit.
Yeah,
But not always.
because I remember early Homecoming, we had a lot of bronzes that were just 4/4 or maybe 5, 6/4 with some sort of condition, and now you look at cards 7/4, in some instances even 8/4, and then you compare them to a lot of existing bronzes, and you think like, why would I even play this card if I have another card that gives me twice as many points?
Yeah, they kind of the older cards, they kind of get lost. They can't keep up with the new stuff, but we always try to kind of go back and bring those things back up to a new level, let's say, that we kind of introduce.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've seen that the last couple of patches, because I always complain about Novigrad bronzes being trash, and then gradually some of them are becoming better. Though you guys did say that there is some sort of overhaul coming for the faction.
Yeah, well, like, we have a couple ideas of what we want to do. There's gonna be, I think there's gonna be the patch that is gonna happen at the end of this month is gonna be interesting. Just keep artifacts in mind when thinking about the upcoming patch. But yeah, hopefully me and Jason will have the opportunity to do a stream and talk about it, like pre-recorded stream. So yeah, I'm excited for that one. And we always kind of have this approach, like, when we start talking at the beginning of the month, like, okay, so we're working on the next patch. So most of us are like, it's gonna be just a couple changes, and then our gameplay team is like, we meet mid-month. It's just, well, it's actually going to be a little bit more than just a little bit. I was like, oh, well, it's going to be this and this and that. And we're like, okay, get
the
ready.
list keeps growing.
Yeah, we're about to drop a bomb.
But when talking about powerful cards, cards that redefine the way the game is played, we have to discuss both the scenarios and evolving cards, because when these new card types were added to the game, they were all over the place. People were playing them constantly. And then we've seen some nerfs, some changes, and do you think we've reached the sweet spot where it's gonna be able for you guys to release more of them? Do you have more evolving cards and more scenarios in the game?
I feel so. It also depends on the expansions, because with every expansion, I kind of feel like our gameplay team and overall the kind of the design that they're thinking about is they want to introduce something new. That's why we had scenarios first, then we had the evolving cards, like you mentioned. And moving forward, like we always want to have something new and interesting. But then if you think about it, it would be nice to kind of have a bigger pool of these cards, right? So you don't only have a limitation of what was introduced with an expansion, but kind of more cards that kind of play into the same, are pretty much the same, or have similar mechanics attached to them. So maybe we'll see.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense that you mentioned as well at the beginning that you're trying to, rather than just dumping more cards into the game, you're trying to create more mechanics, more keywords. And if you compare it to the other card games, you can see that, sure, the other card games are implementing some new keywords, but they are in much cases pretty much similar to the previous ones, or they're just, some sort of mutated, taken from the other ones that were previously introduced. And here we have new keywords all the time. This is something new that we need to learn. And yeah, so I would like to ask you, which one is your favorite one right now from the ones introduced? And then I'm going to add another one as well.
Nah, for me, the big step for us, I like scenarios in the beginning until we actually moved to evolving cards. I really like the idea of a card evolving and actually telling a story in between it.
Yeah.
So that's for sure. That's my number one.
Yeah, this is definitely something that I haven't seen in like any other card games. So definitely cool.
Although we
Cool
had like ideas for that I also like back in the day. I don't know if we're gonna implement or not. Like the possibility of having like if you order specific cards in a specific way next to each other, they will form this one mega evolution into something cool, or they would trigger ability. Of course, we have it if we have like the Borsodi brothers that synergize with each other. But I'm talking more like place 1, 2, 3, and then something cool happens, right? That would be Exodia. I saw in chat. So something kind of towards that. I would be excited for something like that as a mechanic, but we'll see what the guys decide moving forward.
Yeah.
Personally, I would say that my favorite would be something much smaller than that. I love Devotion. I think it's a great tool to balance certain mechanics and certain cards.
Yeah.
I even remember because people were always complaining that the Masquerade Ball is oppressive because you can play it twice. So some people were saying, so why don't you slap Devotion on the last chapter? That way you wouldn't be able to play Mada or on Neuromancy, and the odds of drawing it will be much lower.
Yeah, this is also something like a natural way and a smart way of rotating some cards out, right? You don't need to rotate them out. You just need to put a devotion on it, or like limit the number of cards you can use, to activate something. So yeah, pretty awesome. And do you think that the devs are going to keep their pace in terms of implementing the keywords, or are we gonna see some sort of a slowdown at some point? Because it can get complicated.
I think they will to a point where, like you said, where it gets kind of like there's too much. But I feel like in a card game, I don't know if you get to a point where there is actually too much. Although if I look at card games like I'll bring up Magic. Like you have either sometimes they do like new mechanics and new keywords, but from the majority of things, kind of the stuff that is being played is always pretty much the same. Like people will play things in a certain format as a staple always, while some kind of new quirky mechanics are kind of there in the background. They're cool for if you're playing in a limited format, or if you're playing, I don't know, in Commander, or they might hardly ever you get cards that are good for Modern, for example. But I feel like you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, it's enough. But I also feel like for us, and looking at our card pool, there's always like room to add a little bit more. And I think the more possibilities, the better in our case.
What I really like about the new keywords is that it allows the older and forgotten archetypes to resurface.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And do you think we'll see more, let's say, neglected or retired archetypes making a comeback?
I feel like yes. We've shown that moving forward, and we've shown that we're willing to do some stuff with weather, with bringing more Wild Hunt stuff to the game, which I was super excited for, and kind of resurfacing stuff that we used to have back in the game, and kind of rebranding it and putting it back together so it's playable again.
And let's say it was totally up to you, right? Let's say Jason goes on vacation for a year and you are in charge. Which archetypes would you like to see being played and being implemented again?
Cool. Old Reveal.
Ah, my man!
And Old Spellatail.
Oh
for sure.
yeah.
Oh
nice.
yeah. I would
Yeah,
also
I agree
add
with that one.
Swapatail. Swapatail was just such a cool idea.
Yeah, and maybe Resilient Dwarfs too, like those crazy high point
Oh,
swings.
yeah.
Oh, they
was
they
great.
were so oppressive.
And also someone mentioned in chat Mulligan Scoia'tael. I would
Yeah,
love to have
Swapatail,
that back again.
Swapatail.
Yeah, Swapatail was awesome. Like you were just mulliganing stuff, and it was good.
Bring
Yeah,
back
especially
Wardens.
what did you say, Ville?
Yes,
Bring back Wardens. God.
exactly.
Oh
Wardens.
no. I remember this deck with the big boy Elias, when he would boost himself whenever he would go to the deck. Or whenever you draw. I don't remember exactly what the wording was. So people would play him and Geralt of Rivia all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a cool concept. And but the odds of bricking were also very, very high. The risk of playing that deck was significant, especially early on before the create nerfs, because a lot of create cards then were translated into Mulligan.
Yeah, those were cool. And yeah, LAS used to get boosts every time you were swapping cards, so it was fun.
And then actually on that note, what is the reason why we don't see Reveal anymore? Because of course Reveal existed in a certain shape after Homecoming, but it was not what people expected it to be. People still expected to see your opponent's hand and interact with your opponent's hand rather than just randomly review cards in their deck.
I think we got to a point where we thought that the mechanic is not really cool, and it's kind of oppressive on some way. And I remember there was this that we got to a point where we thought, okay, is this really an archetype, or is it just some quirky thing that is not 100% working like we want to? And on the other hand, we were also getting like players like, what the hell is this? How can my opponent see my hand, and they can predict every play, and sequencing of cards. Like if you know what your opponent is playing, you can pretty much think of sequencing or what he or she is gonna do. So you're like, okay, maybe this is not the way to go. So the guys are like, okay, let's not use it for some time. But I don't know, like there was this idea to bring other abilities back, and I think if something is cool, and I think that when players really want it, then we can try to find a way to bring it back in some way.
Yeah, it would be really cool. It was one of the archetypes that were very visible for new players.
Yeah. For new players, they did not know what's going on, and it was like super impressive for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But you know, if you were a new player and playing review, it was really nice to learn the game that way.
Yeah, because you were pretty much just like, it's like, you know, you're seeing, okay, my opponent is playing this. Oh, okay, so this works with this. It's like watching a stream pretty much.
More or less, yeah.
Stream sniping.
But you don't get the color commentary.
Moving on.
Yeah, you know, in some cases, actually bringing back the archetypes means bringing back the old leaders as well. And I saw that the team is taking that path and implementing the new leaders, or just revisiting the older leaders to bring back the old archetypes. Is that the thing that the dev team is like planning to continue doing? And what do you think about the reworks of these leaders?
It was a funny thing because I knew that I think Jason had a big play in this, that we wanted to change the leader abilities, and he told me one day, he's like, you know what, you see these leader abilities, like this one. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, we're gonna rework the hell out of them. I'm like, but first he was like, no, we're gonna remove them from the game. I'm like, Jason, we can't just remove and not give something back. He's like, well, maybe you're right, but we need to do something about them. It was like, straight up, we need to do something about it. And it was something that was agreed and kind of put to the gameplay team, and I think they did a really good job. And the idea kind of to redo these was to make the game more fun, and also, like you said, bring back like older archetypes. And I think we succeeded with that. I was actually, to be honest, I was expecting a lot more backlash for such a big change. I know that there are some abilities that we did not touch, and of course we did this not because we felt that we cannot, or we should not yet, but we wanted to first focus on the ones that were kind of that were either too crazy, or just our first priority wasn't like, oh, this one's boring, we'll change it. Was more towards the ones that felt like they were kind of not working as intended, or kind of not too cool or too fun to play against. So we started at that. But yeah, like I just remember, it was funny that Jason kind of saying like, we're removing this. Like, okay.
Yeah, I don't think that removing anything from the game permanently is a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, in my opinion, you could remove stockpile. The leader ability is completely useless.
Nobody would notice.
Like,
yeah,
I think that's probably one just wink.
Yeah, or certain cards, like if Combat Engineer didn't exist, I don't think anyone would notice for the first couple of months. But speaking of reworking leaders or adding new leaders, as was the case in April, I think, it also gives you the opportunity to bring back the old art. In the form of actual cards. Is that something we are gonna see more of? Because we've seen a couple of them returning as cards. For example, Eredin, and then last time around we got a couple more, like Morvran, like Woody, Dana. Is that something we are gonna see the next content patch or the next expansion?
I mean, we're seeing simply that players were saying that they want those cards back in some way, and we took that into account. Like, they're like, oh, we want the leader cards to come back in some form, because they meant a lot to them. And we also were kind of thinking that this has been a reoccurring theme since the beginning of the game itself, when we were kind of removing stuff, or some arts would disappear from the game, that we would bring them back later in a revamped way. So, and we always had this motto that if we have some art in the game, and even if it disappears, it will sooner or later come back, because we always try to recycle and reuse all the work that we have. Like, we won't be scrapping something and getting rid of it and never coming back to it, because it would be a shame not to have that stuff kind of come back. And I know people are going to be mentioning Dagon probably soon. Actually,
yeah, it happened.
Yeah, it happened. So yeah,
As is tradition.
Yeah, it's either Dagon or Golden Necker, like two
Oh,
number
yeah.
one topics always coming back. But yeah, like if we have something, then we always want to bring it back.
We can't talk about the leaders without mentioning leader skins, which inevitably leads us to the topic of journey. How do you like the concept so far? And I guess that's a question for all of you guys.
Yeah, tell me.
I mean, I like it personally. Having Geralt with a frying pan going around picking people is great. I mean, yeah, I like it. It's obviously just cosmetics in the end, doesn't really affect the gameplay that much, but I think it adds nice flavor to the game, so I definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, not only like the flavor, right? But there is another incentive to just log in, play the game,
True.
right? Do some
Yeah.
contracts and get something for it, right? So yeah, it's definitely motivating right now. I feel
Yeah.
like using this concept from the other games as well, especially like the FPS games, right? Yeah, it works for Gwent as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to mention. Before, if we had some sort of a draft going on, like not really a lot of content, and you would consider maybe not playing for a while. Now you always find a reason, like every week, to play at least a couple of games to get these quests and the vanities.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I-
Endorphins kicking in.
Yeah, I really liked the ability to introduce customizable leaders because that was something that we had in mind, but we really didn't know how to kind of introduce it in a way that would be cool. And I feel like here, having this ongoing progression, you are able to collect these things, and if you like a certain vanity or a certain sword or a certain aura or whatever, you know pretty much what spot you want to hit on the journey. Or if you're a collector, you just want everything. So it also gave us the possibility just to work a lot just on vanities itself. So kind of just working on vanities and having, like, we have a dedicated team which always has super cool ideas on what they want to bring and introduce. And we're like, yeah, customizable leaders, that would be something awesome. And having iconic characters like Geralt and now Ciri is going to be interesting. Although when I already know what the next journey is going to be about. Like I know what the character will be. I know that players like totally are not getting it right. So it'll be a nice surprise, and I want to see the reaction. But yeah, like I feel like what you guys said, it gives you some additional incentive to play the game on a daily basis and kind of grind it out. I know that the first one was with Geralt, like there were some improvements, and we've seen players like hit level 100 like super quick. That's why we kind of worked on the progression for the second one, to kind of give like the possibility to go above level 100.
I'm gonna fish for leaks here because you said you love the idea of all leaders being customizable. All leaders, is that something we can expect in the future? Not only the special skins we get in the journey, but also regular leaders having their own vanities that you can equip.
That's a tough one. I mean, whew, that'd be
You brought it up.
that'd be crazy. Like
That'd be crazy.
that'd be crazy. Well, that'd be cool though. I don't know. That means going back and redoing, like preparing stuff for the ones that already exists. Oh wow, no, that's maybe too extensive. But for normally for the ones that are already in the game, we're kind of working on different skins for them, right? So we're kind of introducing skins from time to time for the existing leaders. As for journey, we're trying to keep that to a character and then the option to customize a character. But moving forward, we'll see. It's hard to say what the future will hold. Although it's an interesting concept to have it for all leaders. I don't even know why I said that, but
Yeah, like totally just out of the blue. You didn't think about it. It was not
Totally.
planned at all. Another thing you said is you know what the character of the next journey is gonna be, so that indicates a single character, right? Because I know that Jason on his rare stream said that you guys are thinking, or at that point were thinking about doing a mage journey, because like some people want Yennefer, but then you didn't want the Team Triss to feel left out. So it's something you consider. That's what Jason implied.
Nobody cares about Team Triss, though.
True, heard it here first.
Yeah. It's like in other news, water is wet.
Yeah. So I mean, no, but I think having a story attached to it and having it revolve around one main character, I think is funner than just having multiple stuff. Because if you look at you either do it for one character and you have a lot of cool stuff attached to that character, or you have multiple characters and some customization to each and one of them. And I think you would get into a place where you're kind of limited into the amount of stuff that you can add to one character in this case. So I mean, with leaders and having them as models in the game, it would be really cool just to have this focus where you go one by one. So going one by one, you're able to do this like whole package for one leader and then move to the next one. So yeah, I think that's
And are there any, like, even the smallest things regarding the next few journey cycles that you can share with us today?
Come again?
Are there any things, even the smallest things regarding the next few journey cycles that you can share with us today, or it's all classified right now?
Well, like I think this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, we're halfway through series journey. So then, we're already working on the next journey. So we know what it's gonna be, and I think when it comes to the cycle and the cadence of these coming out, like we want to keep going the way it is. It's always difficult to know what we're gonna do in the off journey period, because that's the time where I feel like players have kind of this downtime, and they kind of feel like, okay, it would be nice to have something in between. But we're gonna think how to address that for sure. We had Gaunter's Ultimate Challenge previously, which I was happy, but we weren't exactly happy with the faction challenges and their engagement. So we're looking into different ways how we can introduce something similar or keep that going, but in a refreshed, let's say, way. Because like for us, the most important thing is to give players a lot of new, or even not, if not new, but interesting content that they can play around with and have multiple options, instead of just having a downtime where they're kind of like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Well, there's not much to do. Well, then I'll just log off and do something else. So or play something different. And we like to have stuff that keeps players engaged. I think as every game out there on the market, you want to have your player base engaged.
Yeah, and what do you think? Like, we have a question in chat here. What do you think about extending the journey maybe for an extra month to make them back to back? Does it make sense or not really?
In a way, I feel like yes, but you kind of you get to a point where you get a lot of players already completing it earlier, and then I feel like even if we extended, then maybe for other players it'd be good to catch up. But I think they're designed in a way where you're supposed to complete it, and then we're working on the implementation of a new one, and the new one comes in. Just a matter of finding kind of this seamless transition from one to another, which is difficult.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that you probably also have the data regarding the player retention. Like, there is gonna be a point where when we are gonna talk about diminishing returns. Like, if you keep the journey going on for this long, less people are gonna be interested.
Exactly. You get, like I said, you get to a point where a lot of players already are done with it, and then you have some players that are kind of not catching up, and they might not even like catch up. But yeah, you see the kind of the interest going a little bit down, and then that's when you're supposed to be introducing something new, something fresh to keep players going. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. And what about the microtransactions in general and the pricing of the journey, for instance? Do you think that the team is headed the right direction right now when it comes to that?
I think so. Like it's something that like when it comes to pricing of everything that we have in the game, like we are always whenever we issue something, we're kind of testing the ground and kind of seeing the reaction, and kind of we can tell by the numbers that we have if something is performing or it's too pricey, or um, if maybe we should be doing something more with it. Like you guys mentioned, the board on the bridge of the Yaruga. For that one, we added a little bit stuff on top of it, so additional vanities that you can earn. Just and I, whenever we were thinking about that, it's like we want to do something more than just have the board come out. And I think it gave additional incentive to players to to have something on top instead of just buying a vanity and that's it. So we always want everyone who's purchasing our stuff to kind of, I think this is kind of a core value in whatever we do as a company. Is like you can see this throughout all our products. It's like whenever we have something, we wanted to feel like players got their share of what they paid for, like they got a full package instead of something that they're not 100% happy. And
Yeah.
whenever there are any complaints about pricing and stuff like that, we take those things very seriously and then we adjust moving forward. So, and I think we'll always keep doing that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Um,
like when it comes to the journey, for example, the value is just insane, I would say. So, yeah, absolutely. I would
Yeah.
be thinking about even increasing the price for the journey because it's like way too cheap.
Yeah, but you also don't want to get to a point where it's too much, right? You get to
Yeah.
a point where it's just too crazy. And we want to totally avoid overpricing stuff.
yeah, because
Yeah.
if you overprice it, then you'll have to adjust the price for certain markets, and then
Yeah.
people will try to
Yeah.
find loopholes to buy the journey, in the other market rather than their own for a cheaper price. So in the end, having a lower price but exactly the same for everyone is the right
Yeah.
move, I think.
It's so difficult, trust me, to have similar pricing in all regions due to like the conversion rates on multiple different platforms. Like if you look at Google or Apple, they have their own conversion rates, and GOG has their own, and always trying to find that balance in between these things. It's always difficult, and to hit like every market with a similar price is just almost impossible, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but I would like to
Yeah.
focus on the selection of vanities a little bit more, because one argument that I see a lot is why don't we have more leader skins, boards, etc. from Thronebreaker? It's right there.
It feels like it's like there on the one hand. On the other hand, you kind of like, even if you look at the bridge, the Yaruga bridge board, like that thing was revamped to match the current Gwent, like to have additional animation. If you look at still Thronebreaker, it's kind of, it feels like it's a year behind, or at least 2 years behind of what we're doing currently in Gwent. So it needs to be reworked. It needs to be revamped. It needs to have additional animation. So it needs additional work. And you get to a point where you're taking something and you have to revamp it. So it's sometimes we feel like, why revamp something when we can try to introduce something totally new, which for us is more fun, instead of digging up some old stuff and then trying to polish it to make it fit our standard of what we're introducing currently to the game. And I think that's
Speaking of which, I know that it's technically difficult to realize, but what about more audio? Because people often maybe are not complaining, but are suggesting it would be cool to have new audio coming with every new board. Because let's be honest,
mhm.
the Gwent audio hasn't been changed since Homecoming.
Yeah, it's something that's on our radar. That and also adding some additional animations to cards dropping on boards. Like we want cards which are legendaries to have a better feel, and we're talking about visual effects as well as sound effects. So this is kind of our part of our polish that we're adding to the game. We actually have a team that is responsible for it, and then the team's like code name is Diamond, and they're pretty much responsible for working on making the visuals better and making the sound effects better. So whenever you're playing the game and whenever you're dropping cool cards or whenever you have a new board come out, everything is like feels like it's super done to a super high level instead of just being like, okay, this is an awesome cool character, plop goes on the board. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
And I have to say, Team Diamond is doing an exceptional job right now. Like the
Yeah,
shield
I agree.
animation, Purify, it just looks so good.
Yeah, and then that's just the beginning of what we have in store, and I've seen some of the things that they're working on. So I think overall we want more of that. And we also are thinking of ways how to speed up the game when it comes to animations and stuff like that to make it more dynamic. But I think we'll get to that when we're talking about esports, because it kind of ties in, having the game more dynamic and kind of the people watching it like they want something cool instead of something that feels like just roping and stale. And also from a viewer standpoint, I mean, everybody likes when there's stuff exploding and there's like awesome music and they're like, oh, this is fun to play, instead of just like I said, play a card, blop, that's it. It's like, oh, okay.
There's a couple of quick blitz questions regarding that I would like to ask. The first one being, when it comes to new boards, or maybe even existing boards, can we expect more cool stuff? Like, for example, I think it's a griffin flying over the board, the new one that you can buy in store.
But you would mean these kind of additional effects happening on the board as purchasable items in a way?
Yeah, both. Like if you are planning to do that.
We were once thinking, but we don't know how we feel about it yet, to have like these things as purchasable. We might think about it, like having additional VFX and stuff like that, but I don't know. It's a difficult question because we haven't reached kind of an agreement if we want to do something like that. But for sure, we want to keep having like interesting Easter eggs or things happening on boards, like portals opening, like we have in one of the boards, or kind of more things going on it, because it feels then that it's like it's alive, right? Instead of just being something flat and static.
And the second question is gonna be, we have this new Francesca model. Do you plan on revamping the regular ones as well, to bring it up to the same standard?
I mean, it would be good, but as you've seen with all the leader models, we're kind of slowly behind the scenes revamping them. Like if you look at what we did to Svalblood, he got a upgrade, and we're kind of going one by one and kind of checking also what players are saying that they're not too happy with, or they're pointing us towards a certain model that could be done a little bit better, and then we're taking those into account. I think we also have I've been like having this spreadsheet with the art team when it comes to cards that their animations are kind of subpar, or kind of the animations feel like they have some glitches. So we're also been tracking that and working on those cards to kind of bring them back to their glory, let's say. So the kind of polishing is constant. It's a constant ongoing process, and it's something that we can do in between. To make everything look pretty much up to the same standard as the new stuff that we're introducing.
We've been talking a lot about revamping things, and incidentally, yesterday you announced we are revamping the arena mode.
Oh yeah, it's been a long
serious
time
announcement. Coming. A lot of people were waiting for that because, as we talked about it before the podcast, arena is not very popular right now. And my question would be, what more about the new draft mode can you tell us? Because incidentally, we have a very raw sketch of the deck building process.
Yes.
So, do you mind walking us through what we see on the screen right now?
So what you're seeing is pretty much kind of an early version mock-up of what we're trying to introduce with the new mode. I mean, it's not going to be called Arena anymore. It's going to be called Draft. So our idea is to bring down the current arena that we have, because, like you said, it's not a mode that is working how we would want it to, and the player engagement isn't that good. So we're trying to make it a simple draft where you get cards in threes. So you get, like, here, of course, these are the names are provisional, so thinning, offensive, and tribal. So you can choose which three cards you want added to your deck in this case. And you separately also choose these. So that's 8 times 3 when it comes to card sets. You choose your leader ability once, and you choose your core legendary card. That's going to be, what your deck is based around, and you get one choice of a stratagem. And based upon these things, you build your own deck. So there's like 11 choices in the whole draft. And whatever you choose kind of ties into what is happening moving forward. So the cards that you're seeing later after doing a specific choice kind of tie into what was happening before. So we are trying to make things more, having a lot more synergy in the game itself. But when it comes to how this is going to work, we're still kind of working on it. What's really cool is, like, Jason jumped into the role of actually working on the bare bones of this. He's doing a lot of programming and setting code to make this stuff work, and he's been just updating us from time to time where he jumps in and is like, oh, I just was able to create a crazy deck that had multiple things kind of working with each other and synergizing. And this is a mode that hopefully will be able to also have in the game in a be more available to a wider amount of players. Like, we're thinking about dropping the arena tickets. And we just wanted to feel like someone mentioned Three Roaches. That's also a deck that happened when Jason was testing. So I mean, we wanted to feel more like a draft, but like a draft that has some type of synergy with it, because I feel like what Arena has one of its big problems is that you sometimes draft cards and you put them into your deck, but you don't see the synergy, and you just will go and opt for the card that has the highest power just to get numbers on the board, but then there's no interaction, and it's kind of like, okay. And I feel like Arena being a limited format is something that will be cool for players that are not about the cookie cutter meta decks that you have to play, and that are you're not super competitive, but you want to play for the crazy broken interactions and for the fun of it. So that's it. Someone's asking if it's going to be still 9 wins. I feel like it's going to be less than 9, but I can't remember from the top of my head. I would have to get into the documents. But that's the overall idea. Like, we're revamping this mode and kind of want to keep moving forward with this. Like, we issued the statement yesterday where we said that we're going to do it. And that we also, when we have an overall idea of the mode, and the idea we have when we have a early version of the game, we want to do an open beta for it. So we want a lot of players to test it and kind of give their feedback. kind of tell us like if they like this or what they would change, or also based on that we'll have a lot of players playing it. We'll get a lot more stats and kind of see how they are liking the game. One thing, so I don't spoil everything, you can expect a detailed rundown of what we liked, what we disliked about the mode, and what the new one is going to introduce quite soon. And I know that Jason is working on in between is working on a document kind of explaining what our thoughts were on the process of introducing this mode. So that should give you a really good overall general overview what the mode is about and how I want to proceed forward. Yeah.
Some time ago, you guys said that when thinking about this idea of reworking Arena, you want to change the leaders, right? Because many leaders just won't have any kind of synergy in Arena whatsoever. Is that still the plan? Do you still want to introduce some sort of Arena leader type? Or
We'll
draft
see.
leader type?
We'll see about that. Nothing that I can share right now if it's happening or not. Like I don't want to give you a yes or a no because I fully don't have the knowledge with regards to that. But we'll see.
What about the pricing? Is it still gonna be 150? Or
like I said, we want to drop the idea of having tickets to get into the mode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I must have missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes happens. Like I'm writing all these things down and then I'm just like, wait, did I miss something? Yeah, that's a cool idea because I think one of the main problems of Arena is rerolling.
Yeah, because if you build something and you're not content with it and you want to move forward and you're kind of like, okay, I don't want to play this, but then I want to reroll quickly and build something new and jump into the games. Well, I was like, okay, I can't because I need to spend ore on it. So yeah.
Quick follow-up question on the ticket idea. Me and Hesser, we did a couple of giveaways in another card game, and the devs gave us the opportunity to give away draft tickets. Is that something you also plan on implementing in the future?
Nothing that we were thinking about, to be honest, to having like giveaways for tickets. I don't know. Not doesn't feel like something that we would be doing.
Right.
And there's something interesting. You mentioned that it's rather for the players who feel that they are not so competitive and they want to like play a fun mode rather than just compete with people. But yeah, the people in chat are asking here as well, is there going to be some sort of a competitive side of the arena? Maybe like, like inviting another player to play with you, like playing small BO3 or something like that?
Difficult to say right now. Like we first want to rebuild it, bring it back in the current, like in the form it was, and then see what the engagement is and if we can build upon of it. So that's something that I can say for sure. Yeah.
All right.
Ville, you as a competitive player, your thoughts on this new draft mode?
I mean, honestly, it looks pretty good. Although, to be completely honest, I haven't been playing Arena a lot, and I don't think if it's not really gonna have any competitive side to it, I'm not gonna. But from what it looks like now, it definitely looks like an improvement and a much more. It looks like it's gonna be a much more enjoyable game mode than what it is right now.
Yeah, there were questions about also like equipping cosmetics. Like we want you to have the ability to equip your cosmetics in the arena because it's something that in the current version you don't have that option. And when we don't like that, like we want players to show off the stuff that they have. Because I think like even if you think about it, if a player has some cool cosmetics and he or she is showing it off, other players see it. That leads to more purchases. That leads to keeping the lights on for us and keeping us going. So I think it explains itself.
Yeah, absolutely. More revenue means more future content. So
true, exactly.
Go spend that money, guys! Exclamation mark giveaway. Moving on, because we have some more leaks, right?
Yeah, so well, before we end this segment, right, there's a couple of seemingly random questions we'd like to ask. So the first one would be the Witcher-themed artwork that was leaked. Is there anything that you could share with us about that?
No. No. There was some stuff leaked. Might appear, might not appear in the game. We don't know.
All
You
right.
might see it one day. You might not see it. Why were the Witchers? What's it tied to? I don't know.
Yeah, because I think me and Hesser, we talked about it, didn't we?
Yeah.
And our idea was you don't add something like that to the game for no reason. You add it for it to be found.
Or someone makes a mistake and it's added by mistake.
Yeah,
And
I
you're like,
wouldn't
"Why is it
exclude
there?"
that. It's a possibility. But come on, Pavel. You are here once a year. You can give us something more.
That's all I got. I gave you draft already.
I mean, if you run in trouble, if you run into trouble with Jason, I'm gonna talk to him. Maybe we can,
Jason's
fix it.
really cool and very chill about these things. So we're happy. I'm happy to have him as a game director because yeah, he doesn't get too crazy. For us, it's always worse. Like if you think about having stuff in the game leak, it's always like, oh man, because it ruins your whole campaign, your whole plans, and kind of the secrecy. And then if you're teasing stuff or trying to reveal stuff, people are like, oh, I already saw this, or oh, I already had this spoiled. And that's why I don't like spoilers. I like controlled leaking because that's cool and fun. But uncontrolled stuff is not fun. And whatever these things that I'm seeing on the screen are, this was not controlled for sure. And I don't even know what this is. Yeah.
I've never seen it before.
Okay, let's not push it. Let's not push it.
But there is something regarding to artwork that we need to ask, and it's actually a follow-up regarding the previous episode with Untitled Chapter, because she said there is still 2 remaining cards that she designed, that she illustrated, that haven't been released, and she's very eager to know when that is going to happen.
I have no idea. If you look at our art pool, there's so many arts that have not been released but are there from so many artists that I don't know. It's always, we're always thinking about including specific art tied to a specific expansion or a theme that we have going, or when we're also thinking about introducing new keywords or kind of new synergies or kind of a new unit type. Like we have all these arts available and we kind of are pulling from different directions. It's like, let's mix these things up and have them going. Because if you think about it, sometimes you might have a theme of an expansion, but it's hard to have like 6 factions participate in one same event. So you need to have and adjust things so it kind of makes sense altogether. So it's I don't know when her arts will come into the game, but for sure most of the stuff that's super polished that we have sooner or later makes its way into the game. So it might happen soonish or laterish. We'll see.
Soon TM.
Soon TM is the name of the game.
Exactly. We have more or less half an hour left, so I think it's a good moment to move on to the next segment, which is competitive Gwent. Last time you were on the show, it was a very difficult time for competitive players. It was in the middle of the drought period, and people just didn't know what's happening, when are we getting more news. And back then you said Season 2 is happening because it has to. But looking back at that time, are there things that you wish had been done differently in terms of communication?
For sure. I mean, when I look at overall the communication that we do, I always see room for improvement. It's never like that we're 100% content, and I think it plays into all aspects of the game itself. Like we always see things to improve and things that we can make better. But yeah, I feel like it was difficult because we ourselves were kind of waiting for a green light from kind of upstairs as to when we can proceed and move forward with some of the ideas that we have. Like Vlad already had a overview and an idea of what season 2 was supposed to look like, and we were kind of just waiting to go with it. But then there were things that we're considering when it comes to like budgeting and stuff like that, or how we can maybe, like, we changed the formula a lot if you think about it, based on what we had in the previous season. We have qualifiers, 2 qualifiers coming in, top 60 and top 64. You have additional crowdfunding from players, so they are able to contribute to the final prize pool. So, and I think we got into a point now where we're happy with the format and we want to keep it going that way. But at that time, we did not know how we want to proceed further. Like, we had some ideas, but we also were kind of thinking how to make esports sustainable for us, because we want to keep esports going because we feel that Gwent is a cool competitive game, and we have a lot of competitive players, and we jumped into esports like a little bit too early, and we jumped in guns blazing, because we jumped in with challengers and castles and mines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was cool in the beginning, but it wasn't very sustainable. Like, it was just spending too much of daddy's pocket money, and also, if you look at it, like, the formula of those opens and opens leading to challengers was okay, but you weren't really getting players, like new players coming into the game. And I feel like now taking players from ladder and then letting them qualify for the event is more fun, and of course brings more new faces and fresh faces. Although you also have players who are super consistent, and it also awards them coming into it. But moving forward, like, if we can keep this going, I also would like to introduce in the future some crazy invitationals, for example, or you just invite players to kind of come in and play, or to have tournaments with some quirky, crazy, different modes. Maybe, I mean, we want to keep it going, but I mean, what we've learned from esports, and we also learned it this year, it's difficult to keep the momentum going for it, and it's difficult to keep it going, especially in a global pandemic. And we still are having these ongoing discussions in between us and then the whole team. It's what we're gonna do with the finals, because we have finals for season 1, which we never done. It's actually funny because I remember back in March, we had all the paperwork signed, with the place where we were gonna hold the whole thing. We had players stacked up and ready almost. Like, we're figuring out all the stuff, how to get, especially players from China, into Warsaw and stuff like that. And we were almost there, and then everything crashed down, and we were supposed to stay at home, and Poland as a country was closed down, so no travel into it. And yeah, we got into a point where we're like, okay, we're screwed pretty much. So we still don't know what to do with season 1. We know that with season 2, since we did all of it online, that we want to keep it going. And the thing is, like, we're also thinking of ways how to make esports more fun to watch, because if you look at last open, if you look at the first matches, and from the top players that were roping, it was like, oh, okay, it was slow. But then we had some fresh faces, and some guys were playing the game super, super fast, and it was a lot more fun to watch.
Oh yeah, and the Red Rain.
Yeah, and having Red Rain there, what he was like, because if you look at card game players overall, they're like poker players most of the time. They don't show much emotion, right? They're not very expressive in a way. And then you have someone who's like super crazy.
Yeah, very emotional.
And very emotional. And in the last open, we also saw a game being thrown pretty much. And it was cool. It was cool to see those things, and I think those things kind of get embedded more in your mind than just watching, two players play and rope every turn and play the card and thinking about it. So yeah, I agree. The latest open was super super fun. But we're thinking of ways what we can do maybe in the game itself to make it more dynamic in a way. Of course, one thing is having additional visual effects. That's one thing. The other thing would be to maybe thinking how we can address the timer itself, and maybe do some changes there. I know it's a bold idea, but it's been something that creeped up on our radar recently. So there's like a couple ways what we can do, and I think esports overall for us will always be important, but we need to think how we can sustain it and keep it going simply.
I have a couple of comments and even more questions. The first comment totally unrelated, or maybe a little bit, because you see, regarding your spending and the quote unquote castles and shit. It reminded me of young athletes, young professional athletes, signing their first contract and spending money in the club, buying new cars and stuff like that, making a lot of noise. That was Gwent back in the day.
That was going back in the day.
And then the accountant on the first floor came up and said, "Guys, this is not gonna fly."
No, I mean, if you think about it, like you know, if you want this circuit to keep on going, you need to sustain it, and then I think in a natural evolution of this will be that it will start growing and growing and becoming its own thing, and once it does, then you can go crazy with it, right? But like having these big initiatives and renting castles for the weekend and stuff like that, it's pricey stuff. So maybe focus more on having like the core of the game and everything set up and going, and then start adding the sugar on top, let's say.
Another minor question. You said that you consider adding alternate tournament modes. And let's say you organize something like that. Would it receive the open treatment with casters and some studio presence, stuff like that? Or more like just the partners tournament? So it is online, you can watch it, but without all the jingles and marketing and whatnot.
If I was ever thinking about like adding something cool on top of it, it would be cool for it to have full exposure, so people can watch this stuff and kind of get their feedback if they like it. And if you have something on, like if you have, I don't know, players can only play with bronzes, although I don't know if that would work in Gwent itself. Or you just have, I don't know, fully decked decks with gold cards or whatever. That would be just fun to watch as a viewer. From the viewer perspective, I think it's something new, something fresh and interesting. And I would like to give it a little bit more exposure so people can actually see it and react to it and kind of get feedback on it. But I think I lost my train of thought.
Just like Kalkstein.
Yeah.
I was lost in thought. If you played The Witcher 1, you know what's up.
Yeah. So yeah, what was the question?
Yeah, the question was if those custom tournaments would receive the open treatment with casters, with the whole scene and whatnot.
Yeah, I would like that. To put in short, I would like that, but we'll see. It's good that you also mentioned the partners tournament, because we soon will be most likely announcing the next one, and I'm happy that we're keeping that going because it's a nice filler in between the opens that we're doing, and I like that it gives back so much to the community. And yeah, we just need to think of ways how we can give it a little bit of more exposure and kind of more visibility apart just from the players themselves streaming that. So kind of having a way of casting that, except the finals maybe that we did previously, where I think it was Ryan and Jason casting the final, which was fun, and we want to keep something like that going for sure. So giving back to partners for sure is a must, I feel. Yeah.
Speaking of casters, maybe maybe unrelated. Shout out to Flake.
Oh yeah, shout out to that
On
dude.
his feet again after 9 months of being paralyzed from his head down, if I remember correctly. Very
Yeah.
rough time for
Yeah.
him. Get better soon, Flake. We are eager to watch you cast again.
Dude, exactly. Come back to us. There's always, comfy spot. We need those funny jokes and you talking about your apartment to fill in time when the game is not working. or we
During
can't-
technical difficulties.
Yeah, technical difficulties. Gwen, Flake. What was it called? It was trivia, apartment trivia, Flake apartment trivia, or something like that. Yeah, we want that. We want that back, and I think the players want that back. So yeah, take our energy and get back to us soon because we miss you.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. They're all
Um,
Kartofelki and Babches you want, so
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And all the Ponchki jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah, Naleśniki, yeah. Oh, those are the times. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen again. Like, we know he's gonna get there. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's a fighter. He's a fighter. He doesn't give up. So he'll get out of it. And also shout out to Tailbot for the
T-shirt.
for the third, yeah.
T-shirt
Oh, yeah.
Inception thing. It was such a wholesome and nice things to see on social this week. So shout out to him for doing that. Because
You're gonna
it was
love this
good.
community.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's amazing, and you've known all these people for such a long time that it's like a familiar face. It's like a friend that you see. So it's awesome to have everybody as part of this community. Yeah.
But to move on with the story, you were saying a
Mhm.
lot about the the World Masters. The final tournament being postponed due to the lockdown. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think some casters were even on their way to Poland when you guys canceled or postponed. rather.
Yeah, it was. They were almost going to the airport. Like I think it was a day before they had their flights, or even a couple hours before they had their flights. So yeah, it was everything was gonna happen. Like we were ready. We had the venue. I mean, we had everything. We had the draw show done for that one. I mean, we're ready. But yeah, and then pandemic struck, and boom.
And my question would be because, well, the tournament is postponed. There was also some controversy regarding the prize distribution early on. Did you guys start to panic and have this feeling that nothing's going your way? And that's not only a question for you, Pavel, but also Ville as a competitive player.
I mean, it didn't feel great. It didn't look great from any angle at the start. The first month, even as a player, it was a bit hectic to think about. I mean, I can imagine what's like the studio went through during that time, but like just having this feeling that are we actually gonna stay on schedule and what is everything gonna look like and how is everything gonna be organized was it definitely even to a player it was stressful because especially me I like to like have a track sort of and I like to keep track of okay this is happening today or tomorrow next week next month whatever so I can plan ahead and prepare and then when everything just goes like that it's terrible.
Pavel, how did it feel from your perspective? The
Well,
early months of 2020.
I
This
mean,
beautiful year.
you're working on something for a long time, and you have all the details pretty much ready for it, and then you're almost there. And I know, like overall, like preparation to get everything done for that open took a lot of time, and there's a lot of decisions that go into it. There's us kind of trying in the team itself to kind of explain how we want to move forward, and then getting the budget for everything, and then proceeding to it. You're kind of happy that it's going to happen, and then boom, this happens, and it was out of our hands. But we had to think of how to bounce back and bring back at least qualifiers and opens to keep the thing going. And for some time we were having those qualifiers happen, but there weren't any opens, and we had to think, okay, how do we produce this, because we need to move to an online format and we don't have experience with that. So first we were using an outside company to help us with that. And with the recent open, we were able to bring it back in house. So to make a setup in our Gwent studio, and yeah, I think we created a new dedicated team for that. And we want to keep it going now. Like we want to keep it going. But at that time, it was just like we were like, okay, we're so close, and it didn't happen. But it's like, what can you do? It's nothing we can do. And I remember we were even trying just to get it done. Like I remember we were dropping Hana-chan because it was impossible to get anyone from China at that time. And kind of getting the next person in line, but it kind of feels like it's like always there's a hurdle you have to jump over, and it's just like no, I just want it to happen, and I want it to be done good, and it's supposed to be World Masters, and we treat Masters as a big thing, and we don't treat it as an open, so it should have this the confetti and the special venue, and kind of for this one we wanted to move away from the feel of a big event in terms of like having it tied in lore, but moving to it, making it like a big esports thing. So having like a esports studio where the players comes out from from something, there's like smoke, and then you have LED screens everywhere kind of showing like cool animations from the game, and or some cars moving around, and we were working on all the assets, and we had all that stuff also done. I remember like it took a lot of time to have everything animated, from small logos to, I don't know, from text, and having all the visuals, and it's like and then you get, you're kind of ready. It feels like you're running, and then someone just puts their foot in front of you, and you fall on your face, but then you have to get back up and kind of like, okay, let's try to bring it back. Let's just try to salvage what we can. And I think we did okay, and I think it was it was hard in the beginning, but I think now it's good. Yeah.
You have to look at the silver lining. Moligian is unlikely to complain about that on Twitter anymore.
Well, yes, he's one of us now. So, I mean, if you want someone to stay quiet, you gotta get him into the team.
So yeah, guys, if Merchants of Negativity go off air one day, you know what happened.
Yeah. You'll be taken in by the mothership.
Open for offers. Moving on, Hesser.
Yeah, actually, Pawel like advanced a bit here and answered like quite a few questions you would get, right? But yeah, anyways, speaking of the online tournament, it was cool to be part of it as well, and see how it all works and how it happens, how it get back to life, and tell us maybe a bit more. We talked about that with Ryan as well, but tell us maybe a bit more about the backyard of organizing the online tournament. Was it difficult in general? How did it go? What were the fears?
The fear was that we were doing this kind of for the first time, and the fear was that we didn't have a lot of time to prepare. Like I remember the last time we entered our Gwent studio was back in March, where we were recording This Week in Gwent, and we left it in a way that it was for a couple of months, and that place needed a proper cleaning. So that's what we started with. We pretty much took all the stuff out that we consider trash, and then we started moving things around, and we pretty much took all the cables that were there, and I'm talking about like audio cables, but also everything HDMI, all the visual stuff, and all the setup that we had. We need to put everything apart and then bring it back together. Thankfully, we had help from the team that was working on the audio and the visual side of the whole thing, and the production of the whole thing, previously when we were doing opens in the studio, but they were helping us kind of rework everything and change kind of the technology for it to happen online, because on an online format you're taking multiple feeds from different sources, and you need to somehow try to put these things together, and it's like a puzzle. And once you put it all together and you have the game on top, and then you have everything working, it's it works. But if you make one misstep, or you forget about something, or you get a technical difficulty on one side, the whole thing can pretty much, it's like a house of cards, it just goes down, right?
Yeah.
And from that standpoint, it was difficult for us to do it. Like, of course, it was easier with an external company that has experience, because if you look at all esports things happening in the world since the outbreak of the virus, like, everybody's just doing it online, and they're already developing technology, and they're kind of have all the health precautions also, especially if you have casters in the studio. They're they're divided by plexiglass, and you have you also have a smaller team working on the production of the stream itself, and they're sitting apart from each other, so keeping the social distance and also keeping the personal hygiene to a super high level. And then we saw how they were pretty much doing it, and we were able to adapt that to our studio, which is important for us, because the most important thing, we save a lot of money on that. I think that's self-explanatory. B, we get to do it ourselves, and I feel like we have a broad understanding of the game and the know-how, that we know when to transition to the game, or there's not any hiccups, or we know we can anticipate who's gonna win or lose. Although if it's by 1 point, we might not anticipate who's gonna win or lose. But doing production by ourselves for the first time, we're surprised that it went as smooth as it did. Although in the second day, we had our PC, which was only responsible for the streaming part, go down for 12 minutes, and we were pretty much broadcasting a black screen. So that was after that, like, looking at it, that was our one major hiccup. But already, like, for the second one, we're thinking of things, what we can do better. That's one thing. And we already know kind of what type of hardware we need to buy to also make stuff more better. I remember we had audio synced to one PC, where we're capturing the feeds of the casters and their audio, and the players had their own, where we were just getting their feeds just from the cameras without the audio, and we had to move them in between, kind of transitioning them in between rooms in order to get audio and video. And it was difficult, and it was kind of like, okay, it's kind of heat of the moment. You're going downhill, and you just have to remember, okay, I need to do this and this and that. If I don't, we'll crash and burn. So I like it, because it's adrenaline, and it's kind of going with the flow, and YOLOing it a little bit. And I love that approach. But when you're streaming on behalf of a company, and you're doing a tournament with which there is a prize pool of 20 couple thousand, then you need to kind of keep everything looking nice and professional, and I think we achieved that. We didn't get any bad community sentiment after that one, so we'll be building on that for sure and moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, despite the hiccups and everything that's going on in the world, the production quality of the last 3 opens, absolutely amazing. And now we also have the tournament platform, so I guess we can also expect a lot of great tournaments and competitive events from the community. But we have 10 minutes left, so I think we can reserve that time for a couple of personal Q&A questions.
Yay.
I know you love them. I know.
I asked for questions on Twitter, and all the questions I got were bad. So
we have a bad question.
Game up.
We have a bad question too, but it's a minor investigation that we are doing. Some time ago, you tweeted about looking for colleagues to join your team, and you see, you make great coffee, and we felt obliged to kind of get some info on that. So recently we've got one witness who said, quote unquote, with such a fancy machine, everyone can make a good coffee.
That's not true.
Yeah, so how do you react to these accusations?
It's not true. Like we have the good machines in the office, it's true, but you still need to know how to make the coffee. I mean, it's very easy to mess up a coffee. So I feel that I mean, while making the coffee itself is quite easy because we're using the same coffee beans and we're using the same kind of machine that has the right temperature of water going through the grounded beans, and the beans itself and the thing that grounds and the grinder are kind of also kept in a proper temperature, that the taste will always be the same. But you still need to know how to prepare the milk. And if you don't know how to froth your milk, then your coffee is going to taste like crap, or you're going to burn the milk, or it's not going to have this, because it needs to be in a specific like consistency. It needs to be kind of oily. Um, and also people have their preferences now when it comes to milk. Like some use normal like full fat milk, some use lactose free milk, and then you have people like Ryan who uses oat milk. And for that you need to know how to prepare all of those. So it's not that easy. It's a process, and I think it's an art. And you also need to know how to draw simple things. I know how to do a heart, and that's where my expertise ends. But I was learning how to do like this kind of leaf thing, but but the pandemic happened, and now I can't go to the office and play with all that stuff. But yeah, once we're back in the office, I will be working on that for sure. Yeah, but it's a whole thing. I mean, there is a whole like YouTube following for people just making coffee in different ways. And with now you have the cold brews, you have the drips, you have all the weird ones. There's so many options that but it's not the machine doesn't make the coffee. It's the barista that makes the coffee, let's say. Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah. Long one.
Very, very detailed one.
I mean, this is. I mean, we take coffee very seriously at CD Projekt Red. We recently, before the pandemic hit, we had all new machines come in. We had a separate coffee. Do you call it? I don't think you call them brewers, but the people who prepare the beans and source them locally was a special blend that was just done for us. And we actually you could actually buy this blend in our studio if you're an employee, of course. And yeah, we take this stuff very seriously. So coffee is important. I mean, it's what keeps it's what keeps the game industry going.
I can imagine. Back to more serious topics.
Yeah, before we ask some questions from the chat, because actually there are a couple of questions maybe we could ask at the end. But yeah, on more serious notes, how does it feel to finally have some help managing the community and having your own team? I mean, you mentioned that at the beginning, but
oh yeah, having Ryan is a huge help. The thing was that before he joined, there was a lot of things on my head.
yeah.
But and I'm not only talking about like normal community management and then normal like posting and writing stuff and then issuing that communication itself, but having a additional role of managing the team. And I feel like everybody will normally say, oh, it's easy, you just managing a team is easy. No, it's not. It's totally not easy. It's just additional things. And you also get additional meetings with people where you're talking across teams, where you're doing more high level stuff. And that itself is a full-time thing. And for us being a team, like I said in the beginning, that is kind of a mix, because we have people working on visual sides, and me as a community manager, being a lead for motion designers and a video editor was like, what? But if you look at it, like our trailers and the video production that we do is a communication tool and is a marketing tool. So it normally should fall into our realm. Thankfully, we have a producer. Shout out to Luigi, who is kind of producing their work, and I'm kind of just overseeing most of that stuff. But yeah, having Ryan is a big thing, and as you probably know, we're currently also recruiting another community manager to our team. But kind of having a person that is going to be our master deck brewer, if you saw the
Yeah.
thing. So I'm happy that the team is growing, because whenever a team is growing, it means that the game is growing itself, and we're able to hire more people. But yeah, it makes my life easier, and I think it opens up the possibilities of the things we can do to better promote the game. And we've constantly been getting like a lot of slack from the community itself, saying like, oh, they should be promoting the game more. Well, yeah, we would love to, but you need to have more people in order to do that in a proper way, and also do it up to our standard, which I think our standards when it comes to anything that we do, especially when it comes to communication, are super, super high. So we want to keep that high level of whatever we're producing outside, to be the best possible way. So yeah.
Yeah, speaking of high standard of communication, one last question from our own list, then we can answer a couple from the chat.
Yeah.
Do you
Shield
think
War
your
is okay.
Shield Wall remark about having the
That's what I
fourth
thought.
highest win rate will age better than a similar tweet you posted last year?
I think it already aged better. There's there was less of a shitstorm, to say it bluntly. But I knew that was gonna happen, and I think it was because I've been quiet for some time, and I just got info from Jason at that day that they're not gonna be doing a hotfix for it. He's like, okay, we don't have the capacity to do a hotfix this month, and we'll be doing changes at the end of the month. And I'm like, Jason, what's the play rate for this? He's like, well, he gave me the stats, and I started counting, and I'm like, I said that it's the fourth, but actually it's the fifth. So it's not like Dijkstra, so you can't compare it anymore. There, I took it away from you. I felt like it was time to kind of it's like a poke. It's like a poke, and when you do it, you see the kind of the crazy reaction that people have, and I kind of I know it sounds bad, but I kind of like people getting angry and kind of like, what the hell is going on? Like before that, I remember when I used to start working, when people would react to stuff like that, I would be super like stressed out, and now it's just kind of like funny.
Just get a good laugh out of it.
Yeah. I mean, we know some things are maybe not working to 100% as they should be, and I know that Shield Wall is getting a lot of, and it is something that we will address, but it's not something that we need to address with a hotfix. That was kind of the message behind the whole thing. Not that we see there is a problem, but we cannot fix it right now. We won't be doing a hotfix. Wait till the end of the month, something might change. Boom. Yeah. So trolling is fun. It's fun.
Trolling is the way.
Okay, Hesser,
Yes.
you said you had a couple of questions. Let's go.
Oh yeah. So the first question is, if
Who will
we
win Tour de France? No.
It's actually about the cosmetics. And yeah, there was a question about if some of the cosmetics are getting back or maybe added like permanently to the store. I mean, like from the marketing point of view, probably it's not a good idea, right? Because you want to make it a bit more unique. But yeah, what's your
Exclusive.
take on that? Yeah.
We want to rotate stuff. I mean, you have events where if they're seasonal, then it's cool to bring back stuff that was not there for some time. But of course, like there are things like like the journey cosmetics, like we don't see a way to have those kind of come back as a separate pack, because that would be weird.
Yeah.
But we might get to a point where there will be, like we've seen after the first journey ended, like I've seen so many messages coming from people asking for those cosmetics to come back, or because they missed it for some reason, or they just saw the second journey, or because they just joined the game and they're like, oh no, I missed the first journey. Is like, and I'm a completionist, I want everything. Although, dude, you just joined the game. I was like, you've missed so much stuff that was back in the day. But still, like, we're thinking how to do it, but it's a slippery slope, and it's super difficult, and you need to like tread lightly before you jump into something, because you might just make people angry, and we don't want that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
So
also,
swift.
like, one more thing to that, I also feel that it adds super exclusivity, because I remember when I was playing League of Legends, what I liked is that some skins were kind of off limits, like you could not get them. They were legacy.
Yeah.
And I like it, although you really want it, but you can't get it, is kind of a bad feeling in itself. But I mean, some things should be exclusive, and they should be for those players that have been like, I've been playing this game, I've been dedicated to this. This shows my dedication. So I think that's cool also.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like for example, the Pioneer title, right?
Yeah.
It's something that
Yeah.
it's impossible to get right now.
It was
like
really
that.
fun that you could have played, beta for one day and still get the title.
Yeah.
Exactly. Simple.
But you had to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
At some point you had to get in. You had to get approved to play in beta. That was something.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hesser, I think we have time for one more question. Is it gonna be the Golden Necker?
Golden Necker? Yeah, we can ask about the Golden Necker.
Coming soon to a game near you. To a Gwent game near you. That's it. I mean, Golden Necker will make an appearance. Someone I think thought I saw yesterday a tweet, someone asking if it's gonna happen in Arena, and then Jason answered with nope. And I was so happy, because that's what I would always write if someone's asking the question. It's like, oh, it's gonna happen here. Nope. And just the dot at the end. It's so good. And I was like, I'm so proud of Jason. His social media skills are going up.
Oh yeah. Very precise, short answers.
Yeah,
I love those.
No, but actually, there was one cool question here as well, but I want to take a bit different approach. The person was asking if are there any plans on changing the ladder system, because what the person believes in, the pro ladder is too easy to reach now, right? And the overall skill of the pro ladder is way lower now. But my question would be if actually the data supports that point of view. What do you think about that? Is the pro ladder filled with noobs or not exactly?
I was in pro ladder, so I can already answer that for you.
I mean, pro ladder, getting into it is not super difficult, but actually being the top player there is where it starts to become difficult, right? It's not that, but I think people like to have this ability of considering themselves a pro. So they should have at least some of that ability, but I still feel that you get into it, but then you have kind of the wall, the big hill that is super hard to climb. So I think that pretty much separates the super good players from the players which are good, but they're not at the highest level. So not many plans as to changing ladder as for now. Nothing that I know of for sure.
Okay, with that being said, I think we should move on to the last and very brief segment of our show, which is the sellout segment. So Pawel,
sellout segment.
Yeah, we have our own sellout segment. So Pawel, if people want to learn more about Gwent, if they want to learn more about you, your hobbies, cycling, running, the art of making coffee, or the art of trolling, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me everywhere. Mainly on Twitter, I'm at Pawel Burza, which is my last name. And then you can find me also on Instagram. I post mostly my sweaty face. during certain activities like cycling and running that you mentioned. And yeah, thank you. Hesser posted the link, and I think it's Burza36. I didn't even remember what it was, the handle. But yeah, most of the fun stuff happens on Twitter, so I would stick to Twitter. There it is. You also have a link to that. Be happy with the follow. Yeah, I think that's it. Comment, like, and subscribe. Standard procedure.
Yeah.
Most importantly, remember to follow Play Gwent everywhere. And most important, subscribe to our YouTube channel for Gwent, because we're trying to get to 100K. And if we get to 100K, we already have an idea for a very funny, stupid, crazy video that we want to do. So help us do it.
You heard it,
No
guys.
only
You heard it.
Yes, yeah. No,
Yep,
no
jump in here.
OnlyFans. I like
No
someone
OnlyFans.
asked about OnlyFans. No, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
Let me know on Twitter if you want an OnlyFans. We'll think about it.
Villa, it's your time to shine.
I mean, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch. Name should be there. And yeah, just hopefully follow me. Check my quote-unquote content out. I don't know.
And subscribe to Villa. He needs money.
True, I
Yes,
need
oh,
money.
yeah.
This always.
You forgot
this
about that
stitch,
one.
I always need money. Always give me money. I
Yeah.
appreciate it a lot.
Comment,
can
like,
link
and
you my
subscribe.
PayPal.
Absolutely, Hesser.
All right. So actually, the only social network right now that I'm active in is probably Twitter, but I'm planning to come back on Twitch as well. So you can find me
Ooh.
at twitch.com or .tv/Hesser Tavern. Yeah, so I would be happy if you just, step by to my stream next week or whatever time you want and have a nice conversation.
Alrighty. I'm gonna use this opportunity to promote the podcast even more, despite you all being here anyway. So as always, if you want to stay in touch off stream, you can follow us on Twitter at Novigrad Podcast. And remember, we are giving away 3 copies of the Battle on the Yaruga board. So if you don't have it yet, ! giveaway, go to our Twitter, learn about how to participate, and who knows, maybe you will win the board yourself. Also, if you wanna join our Discord, it's an option. We usually share early announcements there. So before Reddit and Twitter know it, Discord already has the info. And as always, if you would rather watch this episode on YouTube or listen to it on Spotify or a couple of other platforms, it's going to be uploaded either tonight or tomorrow. And with that being said, Ville, Hesser, and Pawel, obviously, thank you guys for being here. It was an amazing episode. Always nice talking to you. Do you have any closing statements?
Thanks a lot.
It was awesome to be here. Thank you for having me. Yeah, hopefully we can do this next time. I'm happy to bring something new with a little bit more insight into what draft is. But yeah, thank you for the opportunity because it was awesome.
It's awesome to have you here. Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us today. We'll see you next time, which is gonna be in 2 weeks, and this time around we'll have 2 guests instead of 1. So stay tuned for more info. And yeah, enjoy your Saturday. See you guys later.
Yep. Take care. Stay safe.
Have a good one.